y'all doing first Monday? Charles Hines lied to y'all though, because I do not hold this city on my back all by myself. I have an incredible team of amazing poets and people who hold it up for me and then tell everybody else that I do it, so I look good. I do all the accolades, but nah. Much love to him and much love to everybody who's here. I'm not going to give y'all the spiel because I got a poem I got to get through, and then I'm going to give y'all this. So I'm going to just preface this poem with the idea of poetry and spoken word helps a lot of people deal with a lot of things in their life, man. And the biggest thing that it gave me was the outlet to deal with the death and the grief that I've dealt with in my life. So I've dealt with a lot of loss. And so this poem is an example of what that can look like and how, poetry can really become a healing tool for dealing with that kind of thing.
Come on.
When I was younger, my favorite comic book of all time was The Death of Superman. I mean, as an avid Marvel Comics reader, I thought there was nothing more glorious than seeing the most ridiculously overpowered character in the history of the universe get beaten to death by Doomsday. I mean, seriously, y'all. Superman is a terrible comic book. There's no real struggle, no real sense of danger, so to me, there was never any real story.
Come on.
And I always wondered, why waste my time reading this boring stuff? Especially when I already had my own version of Superman in my life, my older brother. And his story of a bad guy going good is a greater superhero tale than any of those hack comic writers could create. In 2004, my brother tried to rob a bank. Now, I like to call that the day his planet Krypton exploded, because that severe lapse in judgment rocketed him to a year-long sentence in a federal penitentiary. Wait, what's that? It's a jailbird. It's a slave. No, it's a black man who saw himself as much more than the typecast roles this world forced him into. His time spent on that fortress of solitude gave him a full rotation around the sun, unlocking his unparalleled strength. He stopped the speeding bullet of his life and propelled it towards law school. He manifested a drive more powerful than a locomotive. He didn't just leap a tall building in a single bound. He hurdled the bar.
Come on.
He became indestructible, unable to be defeated by anything. So I can't even begin to imagine how bizarro he must have felt when doctors told him that they discovered kryptonite sprouting from inside his own body.
Goddamn.
Maybe that's why he didn't tell anybody about his diagnosis for 4 years. When my brother's dark side was finally exposed, his secret identity died along with his loved ones. He no longer had the luxury of Clark Kenting his loved ones from his pain, and the S on his chest became a permanent indicator of his fight against Doomsday. Even though it was a fight to the death, even though his dedicated Lois Lane left his side, he still refused to represent anything other than his source. He refused to not shine. That's why 2 years later, after all those parasite attacks, all those surgeries to remove the icy breath of death from his lungs, the knowledge that this arch nemesis would keep popping up in more issues, I still demanded that he flew me to his metropolis. And not because I wanted to see him in his last days, but because I wanted to party with a Superman again. But the truth is that there is no story arc dark enough that could have prepared me for what I saw.
Come on.
Because I wasn't ready to cart Superman around in a wheelchair. I wasn't ready to see Kal-El bedridden, coughing blood into tissues. I wasn't ready to see him with more pill bottles than champagne bottles. I mean, to me, he was going to be fine. To me, he was the man of tomorrow, and tomorrow never dies. So I refused to accept that that would be the end of a series. The death of Superman took on a new meaning to me when he finally passed away. There's this uncomfortable truth that is exposed when great men meet even greater monsters. No matter how super a man is, they will always suffer from the limitations of being a man. Sometimes, there is just no happy ending for the good guys, even if they're the man of steel. Thank you. To Charles' point, I do be forgetting how important it is to do stuff like that. Even doing this now, it's a poem I've written a long time ago. It still feels very cathartic to be able to express that story, to tell the story of my brother and who he was.
And so we do these things called writing workshops every week at the Crest Building.